So let's look at the question of why do people ask questions repeatedly when they have dementia? And this is probably not true for all dementias, by the way. This would be more for dementias that have a memory loss aspect. So say Alzheimer's disease, for instance. So when a person has Alzheimer's disease, the part of their brain that retains short-term memories is damaged. And so therefore, short-term memories simply don't get laid down, right? They don't get stored. So if I am sitting in my office, my home office, and my mom who lives with me with dementia comes in and asks me what time we're going to be eating dinner. And I tell her that dinner is going to be at 6:00. And then a few minutes later, she comes in and says, what time are we eating dinner? And I say, 6:00. Comes back again and again, asking the same question. Why is that happening? Well, one of the reasons that it could be happening is that she simply doesn't remember. I said 6:00. There was an inability within her brain to store that information. And so therefore, when she has the thought, I wonder what time we're eating dinner, she doesn't have any recollection of having asked me that question. And so therefore, she certainly doesn't recall the answer. So the other thing that could be going on is that there's some anxiety related to that question, and she's perseverating. She's just really chewing on that question. So for instance, maybe she has typically been the person her whole adult life who makes the dinner. And so now it's getting to be late afternoon and she's starting to fret a little bit because she's feeling like there's something that she should be doing. What time is dinner? Because she needs to start getting dinner ready. And so she's building up anxiety about that question. And so I want to get curious when a person asks me a question over and over again about why they're asking that question. Maybe she's asking the question because she's just really hungry right now. And she doesn't necessarily have the language to put together hey, I'm really hungry. Could we grab a snack? So instead, mealtime is what's associated with hunger. And so what she's focusing on is when is the meal? When is the meal? When is the meal? When really what she means is I'm kind of hungry right now. So the way that I would respond to a person who's asking the same question over and over again is to, first of all, just consider why are they asking the question? In that scenario, if it's that my mom is asking when we're going to be eating dinner over and over again, I want to consider the fact that maybe she's actually hungry right now. And so I might say after the third or fourth time that she's asked me the question, I might say, I'm just wondering if maybe this would be a good time to take a little break and have a snack together. Would that be a good thing for us to do? Because, the other thing that could be going on is she could just be lonely. Maybe if I'm hanging out in my office working and she's off in some other part of the house, she needs to keep coming back and touching base with me because she just needs that connection, that emotional connection, that physical connection to sort of normalize things for her. So eventually it could really wear on me when my relative is asking the same question over and over again. And there are a few ways that I would cope with that. So one of them is that if it's simply that the person is forgetting, they keep asking the question over and over again because they can't remember the answer. What I might do is, for instance, have a whiteboard near wherever the person keeps returning to, right? Maybe if it's the example that I gave earlier, I'm in my home office or I'm in the kitchen, whatever. I might have a whiteboard that I write down the question that is repeatedly being asked, and then I write down the answer. Dinner, what time is dinner? Dinner is at 6:00. Or I just write down the answer. Dinner is at 6:00 today, if that's the question that's been asked repeatedly. I can also write it down on a piece of paper and give it to the person. What I want to avoid doing is pushing back. So think about this. What I want to avoid doing is getting angry at the person, even though I'm starting to feel like my own anxiety level is going up. But if we consider, what does it feel like to be the person who's asking that question over and over again? So imagine yourself that you asked somebody a question, and in your mind, it's the first time that you've asked that question. And the person snaps at you and says, "Oh my gosh, you've asked me that question 20 times. Stop asking me that question. How does that feel to you? If you believe with all of your heart that it is the first time you have asked that question, and now somebody has challenged you and said that you keep asking that question. So one of two things is going on. One, what is wrong with me? What's wrong with my brain that I keep asking the same question? And so that can cause my anxiety to go through the roof because now I'm freaked out about what's going on with me. Another thing that could happen is that my response could be, there's no way I have asked that question before. Because if I had asked that question 20 times, I would know it. There's nothing wrong with my brain. So therefore, you're the problem. And so it can cause me as the person with dementia to now distrust the person who I was relying on to be the person I could believe. And now I'm not so sure about the relationship anymore. So if I, as the caregiver, am finding my anxiety level go up so that my only response that I'm capable of is snapping at the person, then that's a really good indication that something needs to change. Meaning that I need help. I need breaks because it's not good for me. It's not good for the person I support. And it's terrible for our relationship to have my response be one of anger. We're all going to snap and lose it sometimes. We do. And we need to accept the fact that that's normal. But if what becomes normal is snapping and being angry, then we need to look for help. And that could be by getting a support group. It could be by having a trusted friend that we chat with. It could be by making sure that I get breaks. I need respite. So a little bit of time away from the person I support allows me to recharge and be more patient so that when they do ask repetitive questions, I am more able to manage those. The other thing that we should think about when a person is asking a repetitive question is there something in the environment that is causing them to ask that question over and over again? Have I sort of set them up to need to ask that question over and over again? And should I be changing the environment to prevent the repetitive questioning? So for instance, if you can imagine that we're going to be having a birthday party later today. And so therefore there's a stack of gifts on the table. There's a birthday cake sitting on a plate on the kitchen counter. And my dad, who I'm caring for with dementia, keeps coming in and asking me, when's the party? When's the party? When's the party? Well, why is he curious about when the party is? Well, he sees the pile of gifts and he sees the cake. There's a party going on. So what I could do is I could move those things so that it's not top of mind for him. I also should get curious. Is he concerned because there are going to be a bunch of people in the house and he's not so comfortable with people being in the house anymore and he's starting to get nervous? Or is it because he's so excited? He's so pleased that he's going to have company that he's just all riled up and joyful about the fact that people are going to be coming over. But either way, if it's becoming challenging to have that question be asked over and over again, I might want to remove the thing that is causing him to ask the question over and over again. Let's look at the case where the person who I'm caring for is simply kind of lonely. I've got things that I need to get done, but I'm also their caregiver and they're bored and they want some of my attention. And I just don't have it to give at the moment. So there are a few things that I can try. I could set them up doing some sort of an activity if there's something that I know that they will enjoy. And that activity could even be watching Zinnia TV. If there is a video that I have discovered that my mom really likes, in my mom's case, it would probably be babies. What I might do is set her up so that she's watching the babies video because I know that I hear her giggling. I hear her cooing. I know that she's engaged in a positive, meaningful way. And it gives me a little bit of breathing space because I can get some things done and not feel bad about it, not feel guilty that I am simply keeping her busy. By putting her in front of Zinnia TV with a video that she loves, am allowing her to feel deeply engaged and connected with what she's watching. And I know that she's experiencing joy. As caregivers, we want to be careful about not oversharing information that might cause the person that we support to get stuck on an idea that they then ask questions about over and over again. So for instance, let's talk about going to the dentist. Some people's perspective is, it's Monday, we're going to the dentist on Friday. So I'm going to make sure that I tell my mom every day, I keep reminding her that we're going to the dentist, because the dentist can be kind of upsetting for her. And I want her to just have an opportunity to get used to the idea. That rarely works. Instead, what happens is that we give her much more time to get upset. So sometimes the better thing to do is, rather than setting myself up for her saying, when are we going to the dentist? When's the dentist? Remind me when the dentist is. What I might do is just wait until Friday and pair that dentist trip up. Again, assuming it's something that's not really her favorite thing to do. I can pair up that trip to the dentist with something that she does like to do, like going out for coffee together. And what I might do is say, hey, let's go ahead and get ourselves all dressed up because we're going to head out for coffee. And then after we have coffee, she's in a good mood. We've just done something she loves to do. I might say, oh, look at that. It's time for us to go to the dentist. Now, if at that moment she says, dentist, you didn't tell me about the dentist, I need to be honest about it and say, oh my gosh, I didn't tell you about the dentist. That's on me. I'm so sorry. It's my fault for not having told you sooner. But what I have done by waiting for that to the last minute to get her upset is that I have saved lots of time that she would have been fretting and worrying about the thing.